Most SaaS founders build the product first and then go looking for customers, and most of them end up with 0 users. I did it the other way around. I found the customers first, built what they were already asking for, and that turned into $100,000 a year. So in this video, I'm going to show you the distribution first approach and why the conversation you have before you build anything is the most important part of your entire SaaS. $450,000, that's how much I watched get spent on projects that never got a single customer, and I was the one that built them. I used to run a software agency. Companies would come to us with their big idea and we'd build it for them. Full stack apps, mobile apps, custom integrations, databases, the whole thing from scratch. And every project started the same way. Someone had an idea and they hired developers, they built the thing, and then they tried to find customers. Idea, build, find customers. That was always the order. And it's not just my experience. 42% of startups fail for the same reason. Nobody wanted what they built. Not funding, not competition, not a bad team. The number one reason startups die is that nobody wanted the product. And here's the thing, it's not because these people were stupid. Every single one of them was smart. They had real skills, real experience. They just did what felt natural. Building feels productive. Talking to strangers about a problem feels awkward. So they skipped the awkward part, and I watched it happen up close 4 times. First project, $200,000, full stack web app, mobile app, custom hardware, a giant container you put at outdoor events that dispenses drinks. People walk up, use their phone to order, and it pours them something. If I say it out loud, it sounds kind of cool, but why do you need an app for that? Just use a normal vending machine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They built it, 200 grand, that was it, no customers. Second project, another $200,000, Snapchat for business. You send pictures and documents to people and they can't take screenshot. That's it. That's the whole product. Passed around multiple software agencies. Nobody could figure out distribution because nobody actually needed it. 200 grand for a feature nobody asked for. The product solved the problem nobody actually had. Third project, $50,000, a camera you put on your car that detects whether you're being chased by people. And then the one that stuck with me the most, I did my internship at a startup, and this company worked on a single SaaS product for 5 years. 5 years of full-time development, salaries, office, the whole operation, 0 customers, not 10, not 5, 0. They spent 5 years building and getting lost in the process, adding features nobody asked for, redesigning things that didn't need redesigning, having meetings about meetings, making themselves feel like they were making progress when they were just running in circles. 5 years of building is 5 years of feeling productive while going nowhere. And that's exactly what most people do when they start a SaaS. They open their laptop and they start coding because coding feels like progress. 4 projects, 4 failures. You probably already see what they all have in common. I'm not going to spell it out yet, and just hold that thought, because the next story is one that made it click for me, and the difference had nothing to do with the product. 20 clinics, that's how many businesses I worked with where the exact same problem kept killing their revenue, and that problem became a $100,000 a year SaaS. I was running a marketing agency. We'd set up ads, landing pages, the whole thing for businesses, mostly clinics. The campaigns worked, leads came in, people were clicking, filling out forms, sending messages, and then nothing happened. Leads came in on Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, all these different channels, and nobody on the client's team responded fast enough. By the time they replied hours later, sometimes the next day, the lead had already lost interest. The moment was gone. I watched this happen at over 20 businesses, not once or twice, over and over and over. The ads worked, the leads were real, people were interested, and then the follow-up killed everything. One clinic was the worst. They had 20 plus consultations booked through our campaigns. Real people who wanted the service. They couldn't close a single one because the communication between the clinic and the leads was that bad. 20 warm leads, all gone. People who were ready to pay, and the clinic just let them slip away. And I realized the distribution channel was already sitting right in front of me. These were my clients. I was talking to them every single day. I knew exactly what was failing and why. I didn't need to go find a market. I was already standing in one. Look at that. That's the entire difference. I didn't come up with an idea at my desk and then go looking for customers to sell it to. I was already standing in the middle of the problem every day. The distribution came first. The product came from the distribution, not the other way around. So I looked at what was out there. Every AI chatbot at the time was useless for real sales conversations. They'd open up with, "How can I help you today?" and the lead would just bounce, gone. These businesses didn't need a help desk bot. They needed something that could have real conversations, handle objections, answer product questions, questions with actual details, book appointments, and close deals. That's a completely different thing from, hey, how can I help you today? So I did an uncomfortable thing. I cold emailed a few businesses and asked them if they'd try it. And then I built the first version. It was ugly. I mean, genuinely ugly, barely worked, duct tape and stitches holding the whole thing together. About 5 customers on that first version. Some were free initially, some were pay per use. I just made a price up. Nothing crazy. The first real paying customer came to a quote email I sent, and they paid because the product answered their leads in seconds instead of hours. They didn't care what it looked like. They cared that it worked. The product doesn't need to be good. It needs to solve a problem someone is already desperate to fix. But that raises a bigger question. If the product quality didn't matter and the code didn't matter and the design didn't matter, then what did? Sit with that for a second. Those projects in the graveyard had beautiful apps, real engineering, real design, hundreds of dollars in development, 0 customers. Mine was ugly, barely functional, and people paid for it on day one. I didn't sit at a desk and brainstorm what SaaS should I build. I saw the same problem 20 times at 20 different businesses, and I built a solution for the problem that was already there. The distribution channel, my agency clients, determine the product, not the other way around. So the question becomes, what if you don't have an agency? What if you don't already work with businesses every day? How do you find that first customer from scratch? Well, you don't need an agency. You don't need a network of businesses. You need one conversation with one person who has a real problem. That's it. One person, one problem, one conversation. There are 2 ways to find your first customer. The first is the people around you. The second is research. And both of them lead to the exact same place, a conversation. You probably know more people with real problems than you think. A friend who runs a clinic, a family member who owns a small business, a coworker who keeps complaining about something that takes too long or costs too much, your neighbor who runs an online store. Every single one of those complaints is a potential product sitting right in front of you. That conversation is your market research, not a survey, not a Google form, an actual conversation where you listen to what's broken in their day. And look, fair enough, most people don't have a network of business owners sitting around waiting to share their problems. So you do the second thing, you research, and I don't mean going to Reddit and typing SaaS ideas and reading the same 10 suggestions everyone already knows about. That's not research, that's browsing, and it feels productive, which is exactly why people do it instead of the real thing. Real research is forums, niche forums, where people in specific industries talk about their daily frustrations, YouTube comments under videos about the problem you're interested in, book reviews on Amazon where people write entire paragraphs about exactly what they wish existed. These are gold mines that almost nobody is reading because people would rather scroll than reach out. Sound familiar? You're looking for someone describing a problem, describing what they've tried, and saying it didn't work. That's your signal. That person just told you what to build. Let me give you an example. My wife is British. She lives in the Netherlands and she needs to pass the Dutch integration exam. It's a government requirement. She's tried Duolingo, it's too generic, doesn't cover the specific exam format at all. And she looked at language schools, 5,000 a year. That's the gap. Something exists between free and useless and 5,000 a year. And right now, nothing fills it. I didn't brainstorm this. I didn't sit down and think, what app should I build? I watched someone I live with struggle with a very specific problem, not language app. Duolingo already exists. Dutch integration exam prep for immigrants who have to pass a government exam. Specific problem for a specific person. The idea was right in front of me at home. And most problems worth solving are, you just have to stop looking for ideas and start looking at people. But knowing where to look is only half of it. You still have to check whether anyone will actually pay. And I want to be honest with you, this is a demo project I'm building inside a curriculum. As an example, you can follow A to Z. It doesn't have users yet. It doesn't make money yet, but the methodology is the same methodology that built the Amjam. Start with a person who has a problem, not a brainstorming session. So once you identify the problem, reach out, talk to the person, send them a message, get on a call, and ask them one question. Would you pay for this if it was solved? Most of the time they'll say yes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they actually are willing to pay when the time comes. People say yes to all kinds of things. It's minimal validation, it's not a guarantee, but it's infinitely more than what the drink dispenser guy had. So before you write a single line of code, before you pick a tech stack, before you buy a domain name, before you set up a GitHub repo, answer one question. How will you get your first paying customer? If you can't answer that, you're not ready to build. You're ready to have more conversations. Every project in the graveyard skipped this step, every single one. The drink dispenser, the Snapchat for business, the Chase scam, the 5-year startup, $450,000 of proof that building first doesn't work. The ones that made it started with a person, a problem, a conversation, and they built what people were already asking for. Distribution comes before product. The conversation you have before you build anything is the most most important part of your entire SaaS. And the reason most people skip it isn't because they don't know this, it's because building feels safe. Opening your laptop, writing code, designing screens, that feels like progress. Picking up the phone and asking a stranger if they'd pay for something that doesn't exist yet, that feels terrifying. Every project in the graveyard chose a comfortable path. $500,000 spent building things that felt productive, 0 customers. And a project that worked started with an awkward cold email to a stranger. Even now, every time I have a new idea, my first instinct is to open the IDE, not to pick up the phone. It never goes away. You just get better at catching yourself. So you've got the mindset, you know distribution comes first, but finding the right problem to solve, the one people will actually pay for, that's its own skill. Knowing you need a customer first and knowing how to pick the right problem are 2 different things. That's exactly what the next video covers. How to find a SaaS idea that people are willing to pay for. Not brainstorming in vacuum, not chasing trends. A real system for identifying problems worth solving and turning them into products people want.